I don't think I was ever meant for corporate America. And the funny thing is, there was no epiphany, no dream, no prophecy that told me that. But instead, God allowed me to feel it, every bit of it. And we're going to talk about it on today's episode of Activate Your Destiny.
Wake up, it's time to activate. Wake up, it's time to activate. You know there is more that God has in store. You've been so used to hiding and used to inviting the fear, guilt, and doubting that keeps you from thriving. But wake up, it's time to activate it. Wake up, it's time to activate it. Activate your destiny. Time to activate it.
Hey, girl. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Activate Your Destiny podcast. I am your host, Destiny Faith McCoy, and we are continuing our Wall of Evidence series today. And today we're going to talk about the two frames behind me. So these two right here, my life coach certification and my transformation specialist certification. But as always, there is a whole story behind those two frames. I was working and loved my job. So I was back at being a paralegal. This was about 2 years ago now. And I loved my job. I loved my coworkers. There were things like every single job, but I genuinely was enjoying what I was doing. Now, what I did not enjoy was the hassle and the stress of being a full-time working mom and wife. So I was also, doing makeup at this time. So I was a business owner, a full-time corporate America worker, a mother to three, and a wife, amongst other things. And it became a lot at one point. I remember getting up really early, getting ready for the day. While I was getting ready, because I was a makeup artist, I would record content. I had about an hour window between getting up and making sure that I was ready. Content was recorded so that I could make sure I was showing up, and making sure that the kids were ready. So even if they weren't up with me at the time, their clothes needed to be out, lunches prepared, because I was trying not to have all of that fall on my husband because he also had to go to work. I was riding the subway, and if you are from Baltimore, you know that that is just trash. Our subway station is not the most pleasant experience, but it was saving me on like gas and traffic and all the things. So at first I was riding the subway. I am in the midst of pure chaos every single morning. We are dropping my son off at daycare. Daycare was costing just about as much as I was bringing home. hmm Daycare is expensive here. And I was just trying to juggle all the things. Like, let me pause for a moment. Even though I am a stay-at-home mom now, even though I'm a full-time entrepreneur now, kudos to the moms who watch this and are working full-time and still managing a home, because I've been there and it's a lot. It was very stressful. Um, Not only that, I was temporary at this position too, temporary to turn into a long-term position. So anytime that I was not there, I did not get paid. So every time, the nurse called because somebody is sick again, I had to make a decision. Every single time that we had a snowstorm or inclement weather or traffic was bad, or it was like constant stress. But at the same time, I was enjoying the independence of, working in the field that I was educated for. And, I loved my coworkers and I was just thriving, so to speak. So once again, I was doing everything right, but something still felt off. It still felt like I just was not doing what I was supposed to be doing. So at some point at this job that I love, I start feeling irritated by everything. Things that I was able to ignore at times began to bother me. I wanted to spend a lot more time just in my office to myself, listening to music, trying to stay away from all the drama and foolishness. I just started feeling like I wasn't fitting anymore. Like there was a shift that was happening inside of me, that shift that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. And if you do not see that episode, I'm going to go ahead and tag it in here because I think it's important to address the fact that I wasn't just, do, and then, God makes a change. There was actually a stirring happening within me that I did not realize until after the fact. So the scripture that I want to bring up today is actually Isaiah 43 and 19. Isaiah 43 and 19 says, "Behold, I do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" And when I was preparing for this episode, I love that that is the verse that God dropped in my spirit because it's literally like what happened in this story. I'm like working this job and I'm feeling this stirring and I'm like tussling every single time something happens. And it's like, if you refer back to this verse, it's like, behold, I'm trying to do a new thing. I'm trying to do something within you. I'm trying to get your attention. Do you not perceive it? Are you not paying attention to the inklings that I am giving you that something has to change? Now, for me, I initially thought that that's something was that I needed to, try to start applying for other jobs. Because yes, this job was a temp to a permanent job. However, something was off. So I thought maybe I'm supposed to just start applying to other places. And I did, went on interview and all that stuff, but still that wasn't it. But we're going to get back to that in a minute. I wanted to pause on the shifting because I think that that is an important part of the conversation for us to have. If you are feeling a stirring within you, if you're feeling like super irritated, like your routine, your environment, your schedule, like something is off, I want you to stop brushing it off. I want you to take this moment to acknowledge the shift, acknowledge the indication that God is trying to get your attention because it's always, always, always for a reason. For me, it wasn't just that I was irritated because of, a little bit of drama that was going on. I was irritated because God was trying to instruct me on what was next. So I want you to take a moment and acknowledge that maybe God is trying to get your attention so that he can tell you what is next. So fast forward to one day, it's the winter. They're telling us that we are potentially having a snowstorm coming, and I have to make a decision because my coworkers are saying that they will probably get to work from home, but because I was temporary, I did not have the privilege to work from home as of yet. And I have to decide at this point, all the irritations are starting to pile up. I still don't fully understand what God is trying to tell me, but they're starting to pile up. Mind you, I also had, like I said, interviewed for another job, had gotten a call back, but the salary that they were trying to offer me was a joke. If we're being honest, it was a joke. And so we were going back and forth about the salary, and I hadn't heard from them in months. Okay, I hadn't heard from them in months. So in this day of the snowstorm, I'm sitting in my living room and I'm like, okay, do I go to work? Do I truck through this snowstorm tomorrow? Or do I, is this an indication that something needs to shift? Do I need to start figuring some things out? Because my kids are going to be home. They've already canceled school. My husband is still going to have to work. That's a lot for him to try to juggle all three of them. We were dealing with a lot with the daycare. They had to keep closing. They were on staff. It was just a whole lot of things going on at once. And I started to feel very overwhelmed, very stressed, and frustrated, if I'm being honest, because I'm trying to, work just like everybody else. Like, what is happening here? Why is so many things feel like it's crumbling when I'm just trying to work my job? And yeah. So fast forward a couple of days, and I remember so clearly as if it like just happened. I'm on my way, I'm on the highway, and I remember hearing God saying, "It's time to leave." because why does this make me emotional? I've told this story before. It's time to leave because what I want to do in you and through your business, I cannot do if you're still at this job. Verbatim. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what that means. My other, reaction is God, my husband. I'm once again, I'm trying to help financially. I'm trying to help support our family. What I don't want to throw this at him again. And I love that we can have a conversation with God because God was just like, he already knows. He already knows that this is not working. So I am like, okay, I don't even know what this looks like. I remember talking to my husband about it, and he's like, okay, let's keep praying about it. Let's see like what God is saying, when, like what does this look like? Are you going to get time, to prepare? Like what's happening? Um, and I don't want to forget that the other part of it was that if I did not leave, that it was going to happen without, without me. Like he was going to make sure that I was not there. So it was in my best interest to go ahead and, do it the way that he was instructing me to do it. So right after I talked to my husband, we get a call again from the daycare that they are closing for a week. Well, at least his class. And so my son would be home for a week. And we're like, bruh, talk about a sign. Okay. I called my mom, who I really thank God for her because she's always been in tune with the Holy Spirit and has always been um, a spiritual sounding board for us. And so I called her and I was like, what are you feeling about this job? Not once did I ask her this before, but in this moment, I was like, what are you feeling? And she told me some things that she had been concerned about. And I was like, yeah, I know. Um, and it was just one thing after another. I had applied again, temp to permanent. I had applied to be at that job permanently. It was denied, which was insane to me because I was like, I'm literally working the job. But whatever was going on with the system, it is what it is. Like, I didn't even care to fight it because I already knew at that point I wasn't supposed to be there. That was just an additional piece of confirmation. But I told you guys that I was going to go back to that other job that I had applied for. The day that I was going to turn in my 2-week notice, letter written up, heart racing, I get a call from that other job saying, hey, we finally got it approved, the amount that you asked for. We got approved. I was a mess. I was a mess because I'm like, God, you just told me to leave. Why would you allow them to call me now when I've been waiting for like 4 months for them to get back to me? Why would you have them call me now to give me what I asked for? An amount that would help my family. They finally got it approved the day that I'm supposed to leave this job, the day that you told me not to stay here, not to be at a corporate job in general, because you were trying to do something in my business, make it make sense. And I had to wrestle with it. I had to turn that job down. I had to turn in my 2-week notice for my current job. I had to endure. Are you sure? What do you want to do? Like, you're leaving to do makeup? Like, okay, well, what if like another position opens? Will you come back? Like, I had to endure all of that. And I had to find confidence in God enough to answer every single time, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm good. I'm good. Did I fully believe it? No. But I knew that if God was that intentional about telling me that I needed to leave or he was going to force it, that whatever he had up his sleeve was better than me staying there, better than me trying to come up with a backup plan. And it was better than me trying to leave on my own terms, as in like, oh, I'm going to stay an extra 3 months so that I can save some money. Maybe if I can just stay. No, he said leave. So I had to leave. So I have to leave. And I have this expectation of like, okay, God, you must be about to give me like a celebrity client or something, because why would you need me to leave my job in order to do what you were trying to do with my business? And at the time, I was only doing makeup. However, as I was doing the makeup and having these conversations with the women that I was working with, I was realizing over time that it was more than makeup. It was an internal struggle that they were dealing with, the struggle of them not feeling like they even deserved a few minutes to themselves, the struggle of them having goals and aspirations and not understanding how to go from where they were to what they were trying to get to. It was a lot. And for months, it was like stirring again within me that there's something deeper going on here. And I started, the word coach deterred me because everybody was using it at the time. But I started really looking into like, okay, what does this look like? Because I'm already having these conversations with these women that I'm working with. How can I help them not just put on makeup, but really get to the root of what they're feeling? I leave the job about 2 months, no, about a month later, if even a month. God opens the door and I enroll in the life coach program at ISSA. And I enrolled in the program, but then I also see that there's a transformation specialist program. And the difference between the two is that the life coach teaches you, how to achieve your goals, how to move forward. Therapy is going to help you on what happened before, help you get through that. But the life coach is going to help you move forward. And so I was like, I definitely want to do that. But this transformation specialist course is intriguing because it deals with the internal part. Like, why are you struggling with achieving your goal? Why? What is your mental capacity looking like? Where is that thought process coming from? And I was like, okay, I want that too. I don't want to only be able to teach you how to go from point A to point B. I want to understand where your head is. I want to understand what's going on so that we can attack the root of it. Because even God, when he deals with us, he doesn't just deal with us on the surface. He gets to the root, of our situation. He gets to the root of our problem. And I didn't really put that together until just now. I didn't want to only be a surface level assistant to who God has called me to. And the same goes for, my makeup certification. I didn't want to just understand makeup on a surface level. I didn't want to understand it just on a social media or YouTube level. I wanted to understand it in a way that allows me to serve multiple different types of women. And the same goes for the life coach and the transformation specialist certifications. I wanted to understand it on a deeper level. I initially thought that I was just, learning how to help women feel pretty, how to regain their confidence after having these babies. But I was already helping them, in a deeper part of their life. I just didn't have the language for it yet. So I'm taking these courses and it was like a whole nother world that was open up to me. It was like, I finally feel like this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. And the funny thing is, in the midst of all of this, God is also asking me to homeschool my kids again. So it's like, first of all, sir, this has nothing to do with anything that you asked me to do. You told me you were going to, what you wanted to do with my business, I wouldn't have the time for if I was still at this job. However, sir, comma, I'm not only did the makeup kind of slow down a lot, now you're throwing in homeschooling. Now you're throwing in, this opportunity for me to dig a little bit deeper to be able to help moms from a coaching aspect. This is not what I expected. This is not at all what I expected. However, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because once again, he allowed me to work through the process. He allowed me to understand that my frustrations were signs that I needed to pay attention to. And I'm grateful that when I was able to get through the classes, because taking two at the same time as researching homeschooling and trying to navigate being a stay-at-home mom again. And of course, we pulled our son out of daycare like as soon as I put in those 2-week notice. So now I'm home and everybody's home and it was a transition for sure. But I believe that God had been preparing me for it all along. So I also want to point out really quickly that this time of me being a stay-at-home mom was different. It was different. I tell you guys often about, that time during the pandemic where I felt like I was lost and I didn't know who Destiny was. But because I had been doing work for about 2 years leading up to this conversation, I was able to come home different. I was able to come home with a new appreciation of my husband. I was able to understand that being at home with my children was part of my assignment, not my whole assignment. I began to understand that homeschooling was now a part of my assignment and that every single piece of what God had given me was a part of the puzzle of my life and that He was orchestrating it all behind the scenes, even though it didn't make sense at the moment. So I didn't have to feel like, this piece doesn't fit with that piece because it does. It does. It all comes together. And that's exactly why we are having this series on this wall of evidence, because each one of these pieces of my puzzle make up, who you see today. The process that I had to go through, because we haven't even been able to really dig deep into all of the things from each frame. But I wanted to at least highlight the core of like what God was doing behind the scenes of each one. Each one of these was building me to be who you see today, to be the coach that you see today, to be the makeup artist that you see today, to be the homeschool mom, the mother, the wife. I was able to come back home a little bit more confident in my assignment. And that is what I want you guys to take away from today's episode is when you're not in alignment, you definitely feel it. And I do believe that I was at that job for a season and for a reason. However, when it was time to go, I believe that God made it very evident for a reason. Because otherwise, why would I have obeyed when He finally did give me the instruction to leave? If I wasn't starting to be irritated, if I wasn't starting to miss my children, if I wasn't starting to realize that I needed to be home a little bit more, I would not have responded the same way to God saying it's time. I would not have responded as quickly. And don't get me wrong, I still have a human side. I was still like, okay, wait, if I can wait a little bit and, save this amount of money. No, God said now. And I believe that that is an important part of obedience and understanding that when He says that it's time, He was probably preparing you all along if you were listening. If you were listening. So I just want to remind you guys that sometimes the new thing that God is calling you to comes with discomfort. It comes with irritations. It comes with you being uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong thing. It just means that that's God's way in this time of getting your attention. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Don't try to make it go faster than it's supposed to, because He's building you up in the process so that when He says go, it's time to go. All right, we have one more episode of this Wall of Evidence series. We're going to talk about that Cornell certificate behind me next week, and I cannot wait to get into what God did with that, because what? But until then, make sure you are subscribed, that you like this video, that you share it with another mom who needs to be reminded that what she is going through right now is all a part of God's plan. And if you have not caught on to the rest of the episodes of this podcast, go ahead and do that as well. I will see you all next week. Bye.